All right, here we go. OP15 is officially released over in the East, and we're already seeing it shake up the meta. So today, let's explore one of the brand new leaders, Red Blue Lucy. This deck has synergy, it builds a lot of resources in hand, and its game plan mainly focuses around the use of events. So with that said, let's check out how to play Red Blue Lucy. To break down how this video is going to go, first we're going to look through a Red Blue Lucy deck guide. We'll look at a couple of the early tournament winning deck lists over from the East, and then we'll hop over in the sim and break down 2 games in action. We got a matchup against Emu, and we got a matchup against the new Enel. Gonna be some fun games. Hopefully there's some moments we can all learn from. Timestamps are gonna be listed below. All deck lists and websites will be available in the description, and if you have any comments or questions, just leave them in the comment section below. All right, let's dive straight in, but first a word from our sponsor, which is nobody, because we are still a new channel. But if you leave a like and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's go. All right, we're over on spellmana.com, and here we have our Red Blue Lucy deck guide, where we can see Red Blue Lucy is one of the OP15 leaders, bringing a unique playstyle to the One Piece card game that heavily revolves around events. It's a Dressrosa deck. It uses events as part of our leader strategy to gain an edge over the opposing player. The deck can burn through resources fast, so with our leader's draw engine, alongside multiple card draw effects, we can keep our hand full with options for later stages of the game. And to break down further what that means, let's take a look at our leader ability. We have 2 abilities with this leader. First, when attacking and on our opponent's attack, we can trash any number of events or stage cards from our hand, and this leader gains 1000 power for every card trashed during this battle. We also have our activate main once per turn. If you have activated an event with a base cost of 3 or more during this turn, draw 1 card. So very nice to keep those resources in hand when we start playing out those events and chaining together combo plays. We'll see when we get into our deck list, we got a lot of combo plays with this deck that can be very cool. So let's dive into the deck list next. We'll look through each of these cards one at a time, break down their effects a little bit, and then once we get further through the guide, we'll further break down how to play each of these cards in action and on curve. So starting off, first of all, our leader is a 4-life leader with this deck, 5000 power. In this build, we are running 4 Rebecca. This is going to be one of our searchers in the deck. It can be a blocker with a Dawn attached. And it's on play, we get to look at 3 cards from the top of our deck, reveal 1 Dressrosa type card, and add it to your hand. All right, we're also running 2 Asabo Luffy. It's a 2000 counter with the activate main. You may trash this character and give 1 active Dawn to your leader or one of your characters. Give up to one of your opponent's characters negative 3000 power during this turn. Next, we're running 4 Viola. It's another searcher in our deck, 2k counter with the on play. Look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Dressrosa type card, and add it to your hand. So we have those 2 searchers, Viola and Rebecca. And just on the topic of searchers, we also have 1 event that's a searcher. We can look at the top 5 of our deck for any Dressrosa type character card. But next we have 4 Leo, another 2k counter in the deck. This card is useful for board protection. Its effect is if your character with 7000 base power or less would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may place one of your characters at the bottom of the owner's deck instead. Leo can also bottom deck itself to protect another character, so that's very nice. Also just being a 2k counter, always solid. We're also running 4 Cavendish, one of our staple 4-cost characters. Its effect, when attacking, we get to draw 2, trash 1. It goes right with our leader ability, where we're trying to get a lot of card resources in hand, so very nice to keep Cavendish on the field as long as we can. Next we have 2 Bartolomeo, another 4-cost character, 6000 power body. If this character would be KO'd, you may trash 1 event from your hand instead. And then on play, activate up to 1 Dressrosa type event with a base cost of 3 or less from your hand. This will be nice when we get into our events. We'll see some options that we have that are 3 cost or less. Next we have one of the best cards for our late game. It's going to be our 7-cost Sabo. He's a blocker, and his on play is if your leader has the Dressrosa type, activate 1 Dressrosa type event from your hand. And that's any event, any cost. Very strong when we look at some of our events that are 7 cost, 5 cost, but we'll get into that next. Here we have our events. So again, we have our searcher event. It's a 1-cost searcher event. We can't look for any events with this searcher, so sometimes I'll opt to keep it in hand just to utilize our leader ability with it. We also have 4 go ahead and use them. Mr. Luffy, one of our new OP15 events. It's a 3 cost with 2 options. Its main effect, we can either draw 2 cards, or up to one of our Dressrosa type characters gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. So far in my playtesting, I've mainly used this card just for its draw 2 effect, especially because it's a 3 cost, and with our leader ability, when we use a 3 cost event, we get to draw a card. So we basically get to draw 3 cards with this. Very strong for getting those resources in hand. Next we have Just Watch Me Ace. It's a 4 cost event. It's a main and a counter. And if we have 4 or more events in your trash, we give this card -3 cost in our hand. So it's a 1 cost event essentially to give our opponent's character -3,000 power during this turn. We also have 4 of this event. It's a memento of him and no one else can have it. It's a 4 cost with the main effect, if your leader is Lucy, choose 1, draw 2 cards and trash 1 from your hand, then play up to 1 Dressrosa type character with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. Very nice to chain out our Bartolomeo or our Cavendish, both being Dressrosa type characters, or we have the option to return up to 1 stage to its owner's hand. We have a matchup against Emu, so little sneak preview, this card may come in handy in that Emu matchup. Okay, next we have 4 Barrier Pistol. It's a 5 cost event with the main effect, place up to one of your opponent's characters with 6,000 power or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. It also has a trigger where we can activate this main effect. So very nice to bottom deck an opponent's character, especially if we can chain it with Asabo Luffy or with our Just Watch Me Ace event. Both can weaken a character, and then if it's 6,000 power or less, hit it with the pistol, bottom deck it. Nice. We're also running Fire Fist. We have 4 of this in the deck. 7 cost event, perfect to chain out with our Sabo. Its main effect, up to one of your leader gains 3,000 power during this turn, and give up to one of your opponent's characters -8,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then you may trash 2 cards from your hand. If you do, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 0 power or less. Super versatile card to weaken an opponent's character and just buff up our leader. I will say I haven't found myself using the trash 2 cards to KO an opponent's character effect that much. Usually I opt to keep those resources in hand. And then finally, we have 4 of our stage, Dressrosa Kingdom. On play, we get to draw a card, and then on our opponent's attack, we can rest the stage and trash 1 event or stage from our hand, give up to one of our leader or characters 2,000 power during this battle. So very nice defensive card, especially later in the game when we have a lot of events in our hand. Anything that we're not really planning on using, we can utilize for a 2K counter. So very nice. And that's the deck list right there. Let's take a look at what we're trying to do with our game plan here. So starting off, we have our stage. Typically, if we can start our first turn playing the Dressrosa Kingdom stage out, that is ideal. Again, Dressrosa Kingdom lets us draw a card on play. It's a defensive stage that essentially we can utilize throughout the whole game anytime we need to protect a character or protect our life if we're later in the game. Very nice. And then we have our early searchers here. So again, we have 3 searchers in this deck. We have Rebecca, we have Viola, and then we have our Follow Me and I Will Guide You event. Out of these 3 searchers, Rebecca tends to be the best option earlier in the game. First of all, it's only a 1K counter. Viola being a 2K counter can be nice to keep in hand. Also, Rebecca has the ability to become a blocker if we need to. Both of these, Viola and Rebecca, are a top 3 search just for any Dressrosa type card. So if you don't have Rebecca, we can play Viola if we need to fix up our hand in the beginning of the game. And then with this event searcher, typically we're looking for our 7 cost Sabo if we don't already have it in hand, or our Bartolomeo or Cavendish are both great options. Now, these cards are bricks, they don't have any counter, so if we already have Cavendish and Sabo in hand, or if we have a couple of these cards in hand, I've found myself opting to keep this event in my hand and saving it to use for our leader ability. All right, and then as we transition into our early mid game, we have our 4 cost characters, and we also have our 3 and 4 cost events. We can start putting together some combo plays here. First of all, we have this event. It's a memento of him and no one else can have it. Ideally, this is our best 4-Dawn play if we have one of these characters in hand. And that's because its effect lets us draw 2, trash 1 from hand, and then play up to one of our Dressrosa characters with a cost of 4 or less. So if we can play this, we'll draw 2, trash 1, and then go for our Bartolomeo or Cavendish, depending depending on the situation. Bartolomeo also lets us chain out a 3-cost event. So for example, if we play It's a Memento of Him, chain out Bartolomeo, and then chain out our 3-cost event, this card lets us draw 2 more cards. On top of all of that, we have our leader ability, which lets us draw a card when we activate an event with a cost of 3 or more. So all in all, that combo ends up giving us an extra card in hand, and we develop a Bartolomeo. But on the other hand, we also have Cavendish, which we can chain out if we have this event. Cavendish is just really nice to establish as early as we can in the game, because the more we attack with Cavendish, the more value we're generating. Again, every time Cavendish attacks, we get to draw 2, trash 1 from our hand. Again, just an effect that pairs really nicely with our leader ability. That's our middle game for Dawn turn right there. Let's see, let's keep going. So we have Just Watch Me Ace, another 4-cost event. I don't know why they have it 3 times here, but it can be used defensively or offensively, giving one of our opponent's characters a negative 3,000 power reduction. Ideally, we want to hold off playing it until we have 4 or more events in our trash. So typically later in the game is when we can take advantage of this event. Let's look at a couple of our other stronger events. So we have Barrier Pistol, which bottom decks a 6,000 power character. Again, if we combine that with cards like this Just Watch Me Ace or Ace Sabo and Luffy, which gives a character negative 3,000 power, we can just target higher power characters and remove them from the field. Let's take a look at Fire Fist here. So Fire Fist is a bit costly, but it does multiple things to shift the game in our favor. So it can be situational how we go about using this card. First of all, gives our leader a 3,000 power boost and reduces an opponent's character by 8,000 until the end of that opponent's upcoming turn. If we're trying to remove a rested character, the 8,000 power reduction is perfect for just getting those heavy characters off the board so we can swing into them. Additionally, Fire Fist does let us trash 2 cards from our hand to KO a 0 power character, which can come in handy if we need to remove an active character. And we have this final note here. In many cases, we'll opt out of using the KO effect and hold on to the card resources in our hand. Now, both of these events are great options to chain out with our next card we're looking at, which is our 7-cost Sabo. Once we transition into the late game, this card can really swing the game in our favor, depending on the situation. So Sabo is a 7-cost, 9,000 power blocker, and then with his on play, we're chaining out Fire Fist, or we're chaining out Pistol, or we could even go back and chain out one of our 4 3-cost events, depending on the situation. When we get into the gameplay today, we'll see a couple examples of combo plays we can make using Sabo and some of our events. But basically, in the late game, we're looking to play Sabo, and we're looking to chain out an event that's going to help us in the given situation. And then last note on Sabo, it's good to keep in mind when we activate an event through Sabo that costs 3 or more, we do get access to our leader's effect to draw a card. Very nice. Let's take a look at our 2K counters we have next. So we have Ace Sabo Luffy, very versatile to weaken an opponent's character by negative 3,000 power. And then we have Leo, which is very nice for protecting our board. Again, he protects any of our characters with 7,000 base power or less from removal effects. So cards like Cavendish, cards like Bartolomeo, we'll try to keep them protected with Leo here if we can. All right, and then let's just take a look at some of these general tips right here. So first of all, we're trying to set up combo plays here with our events. Since we have so many events, we have a lot of combos we can go for. You need to get the most out of your events and leader effect. So we'll be using our searchers to find the pieces we're missing. All right, and then use your leader and stage effect when possible. If you want to get access to the power boost and will trash events we need the least. What I'll add on to this general tip is that I've found it's nicer to utilize our leader's effect defensively rather than offensively until we get into the late game. If we're trying to swing for lethal and go for a heavy attack, we can trash all the events we have in our hand, give them to our leader for 1,000 power each, try to swing for lethal. All right, next we can use our leader's effect offensively. Okay, so kind of just building off what we just talked about. In the later stages of the game, the power boost will come in handy for helping you close out the game. And then finally, blockers are important in this deck. So blockers are how we extend the game to additional turns, buying us enough time until we can set up a winning turn. We have cards like, well, first of all, our 7-cost Sabo, big body blocker. We can give blocker to one of our Dressrosa characters using this event. And then we also have our 1-cost blocker, where if we attach a Dawn, we can make her a blocker as well. Nice to have just a cheap blocker to take away one of our opponent's attacks. All right, let's take a look at some other cards we could consider using in this deck, and then we'll finish out this guide looking at some closing words. So first we have Cavendish, 2000 counter, 4 cost, 4000 power body. With the effect, if you have 4 or more events in your trash, this character gains 2000 power. It's also a new OP15 card. I can see how this could work well with our leader ability, since we'll have a lot of events in our trash once we get into the mid-late game. We also have Would You Let Me Eat the Flame Fruit. This is a 7 cost event. With the main effect, we get to draw 2 cards. Then if your leader is Lucy, your leader gains double attack and 3000 power during this turn. Another OP15 event. This one is specifically designed for Lucy. I can see how this could be very strong when we're trying to close out a game, so definitely a cool option to consider. And then Goldie Roger, just a good win condition card you could include in most red decks. Definitely something to consider adding in this build. So to close out this deck guide, Red Blue Lucy has a unique game plan, heavily relying on events as part of its strategy to enable the leader's effects. Your late game Sabo is a perfect defensive play, and the fact you can play an event through him can set up for an explosive turn to shift the tempo in your favor. So it's a deck that utilizes a lot of events. Typically in the past, I haven't been the biggest fan of that playstyle, but I will say in the playtesting I've done so far, I've been having a lot of fun with this deck and just figuring out all the different combos and chains we can make. So with that said, let's take a look at a couple winning deck lists over from the East, and we'll just see how they're building out their Red Blue Lucy decks. All right, we're over on gumgum.gg, and here we have a flagship tournament winning deck list for Lucy. This deck list went 4-0, so let's see how they built it out. They're running 4 of our Rebecca Searcher, 4 of the Viola Searcher, 3 Leo, and then 4 of the Cavendish. So this was one of the tech options that we saw. Again, this is the 2k counter Cavendish that gains 2000 power if we have 4 events in our trash. They're also running 4 of the 4 cost 6000 power Cavendish. We're also running 4 of the 7 cost Sabo. One thing I'm noticing is we're not running any of the Bartolomeo in this build. They are running, however, 1 Goldie Roger, another tech option that we took a look at. They're running 4 of our 1 cost Searcher events, 2 Fire Fist, but this is the 2 cost Fire Fist. Interesting. So this effect, give up to one of your opponent's characters negative 4000 power during this turn. Then if you have 2 or less life, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 0 power or less. Okay. This could actually be a really strong event to include. It's not a 3 cost event, so we won't be able to utilize leader ability to draw a card, but still can be very nice to weaken, possibly KO an opponent's character. They're also running 4 of the Just Watch Me Ace event. Again, this is the main or counter to give an opponent's character negative 3000 power. They're running 4 of the And No One Else Can Have It, It's Our Memento of Him events, 4 Barrier Pistol, 4 of the 7 cost Fire Fist, 1 of the 7 cost event, Would You Let Me Eat the Flame Fruit, another tech option that we just saw, and then finally 4 of our Dressrosa Kingdom stage. So pretty similar build, no Bartolomeos in this deck. Personally, I think Bartolomeo is a pretty strong card to include, so I might take out 2 of this Cavendish, maybe 3 of this Cavendish just to put in the Bartolomeos, but I see what they're going for here. Including 1 Goldie Roger is nice for the late game win condition, and then including the blue 7 cost event can be nice for closing out a game as well. Let's take a look at one more list. All right, here is another first place list. This list came out 1 day ago, so I imagine there's probably a lot of experimenting going on over on the East since these cards are so brand new. But in this build, they're running 4 Rebecca, 2 Bello Betty, interesting searcher option. This card searches for Revolutionary Army type cards, so we'll see what they're building out with this deck. 4 Viola, 3 Leo, 2 Koala. Okay, our first Revolutionary Army type card, 2k counter. This card's on play. We get to give an opponent's character negative 3000 power for the turn, so that's very nice. Okay, they're running 2 Charlotte Pudding. Pretty much a staple card, I think, in blue decks now. Definitely something I think I'm going to consider including in my build. They're running 2 Sabo, so this is an OP10 2k counter Sabo, 5000 power. If your character with the base cost of 7 or less, other than Sabo, would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may return this character to the owner's hand instead. So another card that can protect our board from removal. They're running 4 Cavendish, 4 of our 7-cost Sabo. Another deck running 1 Goldie Roger. This deck is also running the 2-cost Fire Fist events. They're running 2 of them. 2 of the Just Watch Me Ace events. 4 of the Memento events. 4 Barrier Pistol. 4 of the 7-cost Fire Fist. 2 of the blue 7-cost Flame Fruit events, and then finally 4 of our Dressrosa stage. Pretty similar build to the last deck we saw, also utilizing Pudding and this 4-cost Sabo, and Koala. So interesting, oh yeah, and Bello Betty. So interesting that they're going for the Revolutionary Army Searcher. So this event, 7-cost event, is Revolutionary Army, the blue one. Fire Fist is Revolutionary Army. Let's just take a look. Are there any other... The 4-cost event's Revolutionary Army. So, okay, I could see how Bello Betty could be a pretty useful searcher in this deck, actually. Is Sabo? Yeah, our 7-cost Sabo, Rev Army. Cavendish, no. Just Watch Me Ace, Rev Army. So, they're going for like a Dressrosa Revolutionary Army combo build. Pretty cool to see, actually. So, definitely a valid option to consider. But yeah, those are a couple deck lists right there. Next, let's go hop over in the sim and we'll break down 2 games in action. All right, we're back in the sim, and here I have the Red Blue Lucy deck that I've built out, I've been playtesting with. I do want to try some more of the tech options in the future, but for now, I'm keeping the deck list pretty basic. But in this list, we are running 2 Asabo Luffy, 2 Bartolomeo, 4 Viola, 4 Leo, 4 Rebecca, 1 Charlotte Pudding, 3 Cavendish, 4 Sabo, the 7-cost, and then for our events, we're running 2 Just Watch Me Ace, 4 of the 7-cost Fire Fist, 4 of the 1-cost Searcher events, 4 Go Ahead and Use a Mr. Luffy, 4 of the Memento, where we can draw 2, trash 1, and chain out a 4-cost character, or return a stage to the owner's hand, 4 Barrier Pistol, and then 4 of our Dressrosa Kingdom stage. So we got 2 games to break down. Let's hop into the first match. All right, we got our first matchup against Emu. Gonna be interesting to see with Lucy, because we have that event that gets rid of an opponent's stage card, how we can utilize that in this matchup. Speed is going to be on 1.5x. We may pause at times to break some things down, but let's dive in. Our opponent did win dice roll, by the way, and they chose to go second, as Emu likes to do. So we're going first in this matchup, and we are opting to keep this opening hand. We have our stage to start off with. We play our stage and pass. All right, our opponent cycling their hand with leader ability, and they go ahead and pass. We go ahead and start our next turn playing a Rebecca. So we do a top 3 search. We get our 4-cost event. We go ahead and attach 2 Dawn to lead and swing 7 at 5. Okay, our opponent counters out with a counter event. 4K counter event protects their life. Our opponent starting off cycling their hand and then just attaching 4 and swinging in 9 at 5. And I think, yeah, we'll just take this first life. Now, mind you, this is my first sort of trial playing Red Blue Lucy. So there's a lot to learn. There may be some play mistakes, but we go ahead and start off swinging 5 at lead, and then we go ahead and play Cavendish, and then attach a Dawn to our Rebecca. So wait, pause real quick. So I noticed we have this 4-cost event in hand. I think looking back, it would have probably been a better play to play this event because we get to chain out the Cavendish and we also get to draw 2, trash 1, and then draw a card from our leader ability. So in the future, I think that would have been a better play. But we develop a Cavendish, we attach a Dawn to Rebecca, so Rebecca's now a blocker. Our opponent goes ahead, and they started off their turn playing a Warcury. Our opponent's cycling a card, cycling their hand with leader ability. They go ahead and play a Shirahoshi. So that is going to force us to trash one of our cards from hand. All right, we go ahead and trash our stage since we already have it in play. They swing 5 at lead. Okay, we go ahead and utilize leader ability. First example of leader ability here. We trash an event. We get to give our leader 1K counter. So we get out of that attack. Our opponent passes the turn, so 7 Dawn for us to work with now. And we go for the Sabo play here. So we get to activate an event from hand. We activate Barrier Pistol. Okay, so we use it to get rid of the Shirahoshi. I think maybe another learning moment. Although with Emu, we should have known this. I think we tried to use that on Warcury, but Warcury can't be removed by effects because there's more than 7 cards in the trash. But we're still learning here. We do get to draw a card. Hopefully remember to do that. We swing 5 with leader. We swing with the Cavendish, 6 at 5. We get to draw 2, trash 1. Looks like we get another event in hand, the ace event. Okay, so we did draw a card with leader ability. Yeah, we pass the turn. Our opponent starts off with the Saint Shalria. They get to do a top search. Again, bear with me on any play mistakes here. We have a lot to learn with these brand new leaders. But our opponent goes ahead and plays another Warcury. So they have a couple blockers on the board now. Oh, you know what? I want to point something out. This 4-cost event, yeah, we could have used it to chain out Cavendish. This also lets us remove a stage card. Right now, we just got to determine when is the best time in the game to play this card. So I think what we have to determine is at what point in the game is best to use this. Should we use it early in the game as soon as we can? Or do we wait until late in the game, right before our opponent is on their 10 Dawn turn to get rid of the stage? Honestly, I'm not sure. So let me know in the comments, actually, if you think it's best to utilize this 4-cost event as early as we can, or saving it till late in the game to remove their empty throne stage. All right, let's keep it going. So take away what I said earlier about the play mistake for not chaining out the Cavendish with this card. Saving it to get rid of their stage in this particular matchup, I think is the strong play. But we'll have to see how it plays out. All right, let's keep it going. Where are we at? So our opponent, okay, they play another Shirahoshi on the board. Again, we're going to have to trash 1 card from hand. We trash the other barrier pistol since we can't really remove their Elders characters. They swing 7 at lead. We block. And our opponent passes the turn, leaving both of their Warcuries standing. I think they could have only swung with one of them anyways, but they leave them standing. 2 blockers. 9 Dawn turn for us now. We have another Sabo in hand. All right, we start off swinging with our Rebecca, just clearing the Shirahoshi off the board. All right, we attach 1 Dawn to our Cavendish. We swing 7 at lead, and we get to draw 2, trash 1. Our opponent blocks out of that attack. All right, and then we attach 1 to lead. We're swinging 6 at lead. Do we want to utilize leader ability for an extra 1,000 attack? We do. We get rid of one of our ace events. So we're swinging 7 at 5, and our opponent counters out with the 4K event. We swing with Sabo, our blocker, 9 at 5. Our opponent blocks out of that attack. And here we go. Okay, here we go. So we play the Sabo. We get to chain out the 4-cost event that removes their stage from the field. It just bounces it back to hand. And so we pass the turn, and our opponent, okay, so they play the 1-cost stage, the Holy Land Mary Joie. Again, let me just break this down real quick. So this stage, during your turn, your character cards that cost 2 or more and have the Celestial Dragons type cost 1 less to play from your hand. So on their 10 Dawn turn, they're still able to play the 5 Elders, but they can't utilize the 5 Elders ability because it costs them 1 additional Dawn. So we prevent them from flooding the board with all the 5 Elders this turn. They're swinging 5 at our Rebecca. I think we're just going to let it go. We're checking their graveyard there, or their trash there, and they do have all 5 Elders in the trash. So our opponent clears our Rebecca and goes ahead and passes the turn. 10 Dawn turn for us now. Okay. I think this is where we're going to see how Lucy really does against Emu, because next turn, we're going to see the 5 Elders hit the field. We start off swinging 7 at 5. Our opponent takes 5 cards in hand. We could put a lot of pressure on them this turn. 7 at 5. No Dawn standing for our opponent, by the way, so no counter events. Our opponent counters out 2K to 1K of our leader ability, or of our leader swing. We swing 9 with Sabo, and another 9 with another Sabo. Our opponent takes both of those lives. Down to 0 life for our opponent. We go ahead and play a 3rd Sabo, chain out the 4-cost event that makes them pick up that 1-cost stage. So we get rid of their stage again and go ahead and pass the turn, leaving our 9,000 power body blocker standing. 10 Dawn for our opponent now, and they go ahead and start by attaching 2 to their 5 Elders, swinging 14K at lead. We'll go ahead and take that first life. And here we go. Our opponent trashes the 5 Elders to now flood the board with all 5 of the Elders. And with their St. Mars, I believe they'll be able to get rid of our Cavendish. Yep, our Cavendish gets KO'd. Okay. Also, looked like a weird little hand glitch happening for our opponent's hand there. But, okay, here we go. So, Noshjuro swinging in. 9,000 coming in at one of our Sabos. They decide to give our blocker Sabo minus 2,000 power. Interesting. So, if we were to block, our blocker only has 7,000 power. We can use our stage. Okay. We utilize our stage. We discard one of our events from hand. Protect our Sabo. That's our first example of using our stage defensively. Our opponent goes ahead and swings with leader. And we take that life. We're down to 1 life. But we have 3 Sabos and our leader to swing with. Our opponent has 4 cards in hand and no Dawn standing. They do have 2 blockers, however. So 9 coming in at 5. They block. 9 at 5. Our opponent blocks out of that one. Looks like they don't have the counter. And our opponent goes ahead and concedes. Red Blue Lucy getting the dub against Emu. GG's to our opponent. Great matchup. Definitely a lot of things that we can continue to learn about this Red Blue Lucy deck. Most notably is just trying to figure out when is the best time to use that 4-cost event. We used it just before our opponent's 10 Dawn turn. They were able to play their 1-cost stage and still play out their 5 Elders, but we prevented them from using the 5 Elders ability to flood the board that turn. So was that the best timing to use the 4-cost event, or would it have been better to use it earlier in the game? Let me know in the comments genuinely. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But GG's, let's hop into the next game. All right, we have our next matchup against Enel, one of the most anticipated leaders in OP15. A lot of people have him as the front runner for the best deck of OP15, so we'll have to see how it pans out. But let's get into it. Our opponent did win dice roll, and they're choosing to go first in this matchup. So we are going second. It'll be interesting to see how Lucy does going on the even curve. But our opponent starts off playing a Charlotte Pudding. They get to do a top 4 search. And bear with me, I'm still learning a lot of these cards, so I might not know the names of every card quite yet and all of their abilities. But we're learning as we go. So we start off with a Viola. We get to do a top 3 search, and we grab our 3-cost event. Our opponent plays Holly, OP15 card. And then they swing 5k with leader. We use our leader ability, trash one of our events, and give our leader 1k power. Our opponent uses their Enel ability to attach Dawn to their Charlotte Pudding. So hold on, this is moving really fast. Our opponent used leader ability there to attach Dawn to their Charlotte Pudding for a total of a 7k power attack. They swung at lead and we just took that life. We weren't interested in countering out of a 7k attack this early. By the way, this Holly card gets an extra 2,000 power during the opponent's turn. All right, 4 Dawn turn for us now. And then here we see that Holly card also gives all of their Ohm characters double attack. So we'll see what Ohm characters they're running. We start with the Viola swinging at their Charlotte Pudding, 2k at 2k. We land the KO there. We swing 5k with leader at Enel, and our opponent takes that life. Okay, and here we use our 4-cost event. We get to draw 2, trash 1. So as opposed to the Emu matchup where we save this event, here we use it to draw 2, trash 1, and chain out the Cavendish. We also get to draw a card with leader ability there, and then we get to pass the turn. Our opponent also building their hand size with 7 cards in hand, and they have 6 Dawn to work with. With Enel's leader ability, they're already at 6 Dawn, but they're going to stay at 6 Dawn. So let's see. They start off with the Shura. The Shura gets Rush. The Shura gets Rush. They swing at our Viola with the Shura, 2k at 2k. We'll let the Viola go. Our opponent also plays another Holly, and now here they are swinging 5k at lead. And we do decide to use leader ability to trash an event for 1k counter. We protect our life. Yeah, they attach the rest of their Dawn. They're swinging 10 at lead, and we're just going to take that life. We're down to 1 life. Enel being at 4 life with 3 bodies on the board. We are definitely a little behind right now. But we have a lot of hand resources, so let's see what we can do. We start with a 7k swing at lead, 7 at 5. We do get to draw 2, trash 1. All right, our opponent counters out of that attack. All right, we attach 1 Dawn to lead, and we swing at the Holly. 6 at 6. And our opponent is able to get out of that with a counter event. 0 cost event to give the Holly 1000 additional power. And here we go for the 4 cost event again. So we get to draw 2, trash 1. We get to chain out a 4 cost Dressrosa character. We have a Cavendish. We also have a Bartolomeo. So we'll see what we want to do here. We go for the Bartolomeo. And then with the Bartolomeo, we get to chain our 3 cost event, which allows us to draw 2 cards. So hold on. That whole play there, 4 cost event, we got to chain out Bartolomeo. And with Bartolomeo, we got to chain out the 3 cost event, allowing us to draw 2 cards. And then on top of all of that, we use our leader ability to draw an additional card. Very nice combo there. Getting us up to 11 cards in hand, I believe. And we go ahead and pass the turn. Yeah, 11 cards in hand. And our opponent starts their turn playing one of their 6 cost Enels. This is the one that allows them to do a top 5 search. It is unremovable by card effects and gets plus 2,000 power. Very strong card. Okay, our opponent utilizes leader ability. They attach 4 Dawn. They ramp 4 Rested Dawn and attach them to Holly. They start by swinging 5 at our Cavendish, which they weakened by 1,000 power. So 5 at 5. We counter out with the 1K. Another 5 coming in at the Cavendish. 5 at 5. We counter out with a 2K. Protect the Cavendish. And here we go. Got to anticipate a pretty big swing coming with that Holly here. Yeah, 8. 8 at 5. But we do have our stage here, and I think we're planning to use it. Yeah, so we get rid of 1 event. That's going to be 2K counter for our Cavendish, and then we use a 2K counter Leo to protect our Cavendish from KO. Very nice. Still, though, we're down to 1 life, and our opponent has 4 life. We swing at one of their Hollies, 6 at 6 with our Cavendish. To draw 2, trash 1. We land the KO. They let the Holly go there. All right, our opponent only has 4 cards in hand. And here we have a Sabo. 7 cost Sabo. We chain out Fire Fist. So that's going to give our leader plus 3,000 and give their Holly minus 8,000. We swing with our Bartolomeo. We're just trying to clear their board a bit, and we do land the KO on the Holly there. So that Fire Fist coming in very useful. We also get to draw a card with leader ability since the Fire Fist is a 7 cost event. And here we are swinging 8K at lead, 8 at 5. Leaving 1 Dawn standing. And our opponent takes that life. Okay, we go ahead and pass the turn. We have our 9,000 power blocker and 1 Dawn standing. We do have our ace counter event in hand, I'm seeing. And we should have enough events in our trash where it will only be a 1 cost to use that counter. Our opponent goes ahead and starts off playing the other 6 cost Enel. This one has the ability to become a blocker. It's also unremovable by card effects and gains 2,000 power. And our opponent goes ahead and uses leader ability here to attach 4 Dawn to the Shura. Looks like they're going to widen their attack here. 5K coming in from lead. They're swinging at our lead 5 at 5. We utilize leader ability. We ditch one of our events for 1K counter and protect our life from that swing. All right, now we got a 6K swing. 6 at the Cavendish. All right, we go ahead and counter out of that attack with a 2K counter. And finally, our opponent swings 10 at the Cavendish, 10 at 6. Okay, so we go ahead and utilize our stage, give 2,000 power to our blocker, Sabo, and redirect the attack into our blocker, protecting the Cavendish. Our opponent passes the turn. We start off with the Rebecca. We get to do a top 3 search, and we do find another 7 cost Sabo. And we go for it. We're playing the Sabo. We get to chain out the Ace events to give their Enel negative 3,000 power. We get to draw a card with our leader ability. So the Enel is now 7,000 power body. We attach 1 Dawn to Cavendish, swing at the Enel, 7 at 7. We get to draw 2, trash 1. Our opponent counters out of that with the 1K. Here we go. Okay, we swing with leader, 5 at the Shura, just clearing that extra body off the board. Yeah, with Enel, any of their bodies can be threats to swing in using their leader ability because they can attach 4 Dawn. Here we go with Bartolomeo. We're swinging at lead, 6 at 5. So opting not to attach that last Dawn and swing at the Enel. Our opponent does take that life, though. And here we got to decide, do we swing with the Sabo? And if we do we swing at lead or do we swing at the Enel? And we swing at the Enel. We go 9 at 7, swinging at the Enel, forcing our opponent to counter. And they do 2K and a 1K, get those cards out of hand. And now we have to go ahead and pass the turn. We do attach our last Dawn to Rebecca, making Rebecca a blocker. Okay, here we go. Our opponent starts off playing a 6-cost Sanji. That's a blocker, and then they use an El Thor event. That's going to KO one of our characters with 3,000 power. Our Rebecca is KO'd. Here we go, okay. And our opponent has all their Dawn to work with. They're attaching 2 to the Enel and 1 to lead. They swing 7K at our leader, 7 coming in at 5. All right, we go leader ability, trash an event, and then use a 2K counter out of hand to protect our life from that swing. 12K coming in. Our opponent has 2 strong attacks coming in. We take that life, and our opponent swings 13 at 5. Do we have enough to protect our Sabo? 9K power Sabo. We do have our stage, but we only have a 2K counter in hand, which won't be enough. So we opt to let the Sabo block and get KO'd. Here we go. So we go with a barrier pistol. It's going to cost 5 Dawn, but that's going to clear their blocker Sanji off the board. We attach 1 Dawn to Cavendish, and we swing 7 at 5. Our opponent only has 2 cards left in their life. 7 at 5, we do draw 2, trash 1. It's nice because we do get an event. So potentially here, we can utilize our leader ability to power up our leader's attack. But we attach a Dawn, we swing another 7 at Enel, at their leader, and they counter out 2K and a 1K. All right, we got to draw a card, by the way, because we used the 5-cost event. And here, we're using leader ability and swinging to give our leader plus 2,000 power. 7K at 5, and our opponent only had 1 card in hand. Not enough to counter out. And here we're swinging for lethal with Sabo, 12 at 5, and we land lethal. Red Blue Lucy getting the dub against Enel. GG's to our opponent. Very well played. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think of this gameplay, if we made any mistakes or what learning moments we can take away from these matchups. But a lot of fun. Really cool to see these new OP15 leaders in action. I think Red Blue Lucy is going to be a pretty strong deck, especially with all those combo plays we can make with our events. This 7-cost Sabo is definitely the MVP of this deck. But that's going to do it for today. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about Red Blue Lucy, if you're trying out any different builds, or just how you're feeling about these OP15 leaders in general. And if you enjoyed the gameplay, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. We'll be back with another one. Peace.